Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out this evening to listen to the presentation on the AR.Drone. I was told to let everybody know if you're going to be tweeting to do hashtag Arena Tech Night. So, as Vince already said, my name is Aaron Leese. I'm a .NET developer at the Big Blue Square Nationwide, right around the corner. And in my spare time, I like to tinker with tech, most notably the drone, but my two favorites are Ubuntu and Android. So if there's any fans of that, let's chat. So, all right. And then, so why are we here? Before I answer that question, I have a question for everybody. Just a show of hands, who owns their very own drone? Who has a drone? Oh, sorry. Who has one of these drones? So I know, yeah, I know you do. So a couple people. So that's really the purpose of this presentation, is for the rest of you, and for those who have them, hopefully you'll learn something new as well. But just to show you that these drones can be fun, you know, not only for, you know, the typical programmer, but also your mere mortal. So I'd like to go over now the agenda, just what to expect this evening. I'll first talk about the parts of the drone, nothing too detailed, just a highlight of what I think are kind of the cool parts of the drone. And then options, if you want to buy one, or you can even build one. There's some very useful videos online that tell you exactly how to put one together. Controls, so out of the box, there's no remote that comes with this one specifically. That's not applicable to every drone, but this one specifically, there's no control. So how do you control it? And then what are some ways that people have been controlling it? And I'll give a demo of one of those. And then that moves into kind of the no-hands autonomous control. I'll give a short demo of that and just show you how easy it is to get started to autonomously control your drone. And then I'll discuss the possibilities, you know, why would you want a drone and what are people using the drones for today? And then, of course, question and answer, so that should be interesting. So these are the parts of the drone, this particular drone. And I know this may look a little overwhelming. I'm not going to talk about all these. But basically, you have a body, and then at the end of each propeller there, that's all the parts times 4. So it doesn't get too complicated in terms of the parts multiplying there. So I'll first talk about the exterior. So on this particular drone, you have the indoor hull, and it's styrofoam. It's pretty sturdy. If you look up, if you come close, I have a crack here, 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 and here. So I've cracked it a couple times, but glue puts it right back together. So you have the indoor hull and the outdoor hull. Then on the bottom, you have an ultrasound sensor. So this is for ground altitude measurements. And that's accurate to about 6 meters, anything above that. And there's a pressure sensor, and I'll get into that later. Also underneath is a camera. It has a 60 frames per second vertical QVGA camera, and that's for ground speed measurement, as well as, you know, if you want to look for a place to land, you can actually look for a certain pattern and land there. And then I'm not going to get into the details too much, but the propellers are, they're brushless motors, and they spin at about 35,000 RPMs, and they do hurt when they hit you, but didn't break the skin, so that was okay. One of the most interesting things, though, about the drone is that it can see. That's something new that our toys haven't been able to do in the past. It can see. So this has an HD camera on it, and it's 720p, 30 frames a second. You can do H.264 encoding. You can record to a USB stick, which I'll show you in a minute. And then you can also record to your phone and your tablet, which deals with the controls, and I'll talk about that later as well. And then, so you can see here, this is just a short video of the quality of the camera on the drone. Stability can be an issue in the wind. You can get about 9-mile-an-hour winds. It stabilizes pretty well. But you can see the drone, and then this is the bottom camera. So a little less quality, but it's not too bad. And they're just getting better and better. So they already have a 1080 full HD drone out there as well. So the quality of your camera is getting better and better. So then recording and storing on the interior here, there is the USB stick, you can plug a USB stick in here, and it'll record directly to that. It also has GPS on it. So there's an add-on you can purchase, and it'll do a GPS flight recorder that plugs into here as well. And then for connecting to these, it's done through Wi-Fi. So BGRN, 2.4 gigahertz, and you can have up to 4 simultaneous connections. And you can have, but only one can issue a command at a time. And you can go to about 400 feet away for the drone. After that, it'll go into like return home base mode, where it'll lower its altitude and wait for a connection. So now what's on the inside of this drone? What's powering it? So it's not Intel, it's actually ARM Cortex A8. So this is the same CPU as the iPhone 4 and the iPad, the same CPU that had. It has Linux 6.32, so you can actually run commands like telnet against your drone. You can actually shell into your drone. It's an unencrypted connection, so nothing's really stopping you from doing that either. And then it has 1 gigabit of DDR2 RAM. I just thought this was interesting. They market it this way because that's really only 128 megabytes of RAM. So that's not that impressive, but it's still pretty cool. And then the 4 primary sensors: gyroscope for orientation, accelerometer for your acceleration and angle, magnometer for direction, pressure sensor for altitude. So the first version of this drone did not have a pressure sensor, so that's the add-on for the 2.0 version. That's one of the add-ons. And then what is also very cool about this is that all these parts are repairable. So that hull that I cracked a couple times, if I wanted to, I could have bought a new one for 45 bucks. But as you get into the parts like the blades, they end up being cheaper. But all of the parts are repairable, and the instructions are available online to fix it. So I know what you're thinking, where can I get one? So, or maybe not. So you can get it on Amazon. That's where I got mine. And the joke I like to tell everybody is that my drone delivered itself. So, but you can get it on Amazon for about 300 bucks. Just 2 weeks ago, it was $279. So I don't know if you guys know about camel.com. You can follow the price of items on Amazon. Maybe it'll drop in price and you can get one cheaper. But $299 is what you would expect. And for those, for whoever wins a drone this evening, I would recommend getting a different battery from dronebattery.com. The one that comes with it is a 1,000 milliamp hour battery. Lasts about 10 minutes. This third-party seller, dronebattery.com, gives you one that's 2,000 milliamps, so that lasts about 18 minutes to 20 minutes. A little thicker, still fits in the drone, still flies. And the reason I like this one is because it actually fits into the built-in or the charger that came with the drone. So that's a good thing as well. And then so the next type of drone you can get, I guess a little higher quality, is from Phantom, DJI Phantom 2. And this is your higher end consumer market drone. So this one, for example, has a 14 megapixel camera. It does full HD. You can control it up to over 900 feet away. It'll also compensate for the wind, so that the camera, if the drone moves, the camera stabilizes. You can manually control the camera. It has a 5,200 milliamp hour battery, so you can get about 25 minutes of fly time with this one, and I'm really tempted to get this one next. This is on Amazon. This is a little more expensive. It's about $1,000. When I looked at it yesterday, it was $1,008, so it's come down in price. But we'll see what happens with that. I don't foresee it going much lower. So what if you want to build one? Well, I didn't really find any instructions, really good instructions on how to build a quadcopter. I did, however, find good instructions on how to build a hexacopter. So RC Test Bench is the YouTube channel, and there are 3 videos, very detailed, very good. And he claims that you can build your own hexacopter from scratch for less than $300. So, but that's not including the remote. So that would be an extra couple $100 for the remote. But you can get your own hexacopter, and that could actually have some lift to it. You could actually carry some things with that. So now controls. I mentioned that you can't control, there's no remote included out of the box. So what do? You use your phone or your tablet for starters. And there is an app from the Parrot, the company who made the drone, called AR Free Flight. And this particular app, you just download to your phone or your tablet, and you connect via the Wi-Fi, and you can start controlling your drone. And so this is what it looks like, what the interface looks like. You have your basic controls and some readings, so height, speed, things like that. And there are 3 modes to control this. There's a joystick mode where on the left-hand side you press your thumb, you move your thumb up, the drone goes forward. There's the tilting the device mode where you just tap anywhere on the device and tilt it, and the drone will go forward and backwards. And then the most interesting one is the absolute control mode, where it positions you as the center, and if the drone flies off, all you got to do is lean the remote back toward you, and the drone, no matter what angle it's at, will return to you. So those are the 3 ways to control the drone with the tablet or phone. Something I wanted to mention was that Wi-Fi can interfere with the device, with controlling the drone. The makers of the drone will not fly these at CES, at least in the article I read, they won't fly it, because of all of the Wi-Fi interference that can come into play. So I just wanted to mention that because now I'm going to give a demo of how to control this with your web browser, actually, and that is something that can play into the quality of this demo is the interference that we have here. So bear with me, but that's what the next demo will be. So I'll just go ahead and power this on. And it boots in about 10 seconds. Okay. Okay. So I'll just go ahead and run this particular application. I won't get into the details of this, but if you're interested, you want to talk about it, have more questions, we can talk afterwards. So I just start this, and then through the Chrome browser. So this is a live feed from the drone, and I usually give it a second to make sure that it's actually going to be stable, because a lot of times will happen, it'll take off, and then the video will cut. So all I'm doing is flat trimming it, telling it, hey, this is what a flat surface is, so it takes off smoothly. So I can go ahead and take off by hitting T. And can control it via the keyboard. So simple commands, and there the video froze. Oh, now it's back. So that's just a quick demo on using the web browser to control your drone. Now there are tons of other ways to control these that people have come up with. Xbox controllers, Arduino remote. I got first interested in this at CodeMash, and a group of guys there they were controlling it with their Wii remote just around one of the conference rooms. Oh yeah, that was you guys, right? So yeah, Leap Motion. I saw a demo when the drone took off. The guy had his hand over the Leap Motion control and just turned his hand, and the drone rotates. So very, very interesting ways people have come to control these drones. A DDR dance pad, there's a video of that one online as well. And then command line, that's kind of built in. You can send it commands one at a time. You can say take off, land. I don't recommend that, because if you say up and you don't type in fast enough stop, it'll just keep going up. But that gets into the no hands autonomous control. So how is that accomplished? The most common way that I've found is with Node.js. And I'm not going to get into the details of what Node.js is, other than to say it's a platform built on Chrome's JavaScript runtime for building network applications. So it's JavaScript on the server. And then that's used to connect to this drone and issue commands. For those who do know Node, these are the two commands you need to get started autonomously controlling your drone. npm install AR.Drone, and then one that I found that was helpful was the date format. There were some errors I was getting, so npm install date format as well. For my second demo, I'll get into the autonomous control, but this is what it looks like. This is what the code looks like to get started. So you have a client, and then again I'm telling it to flat trim, to take off. After 10 seconds, go up, stop, flip, and land. So very simple. I didn't want to get too complicated because that's how I broke it the first time. But so it's very basic. I want to give you an example, and this is how you can get started just autonomously controlling your drone. So. Whoa. So, not a perfect run, but as you can see, that's why I didn't go complicated. At least it did that when it was landing, not when it was flipping. So, that's an example of the autonomous control with the drone, and there's many, many examples of that, and I'll give you the resources also at the end of this presentation. One other demo I really wanted to get working but couldn't was facial recognition. And so I thought, well, I'll at least tell people about it. Maybe there's somebody interested who could get it working and let me know. The library or the application is called CopterFace, and it uses a library called OpenCV to recognize faces. So that is an option for anyone who would be interested in getting that to work. I couldn't get the OpenCV library to work, and if anyone has any pointers, we can talk afterwards as well. So possibilities. The reason I got involved with this to start was it really bridged the gap between the monitor and the real world. So when I was at CodeMash and I was trying this out, very quickly I could get up, write some code, and this robot would do something with that. So I was thinking a really good possibility would be getting kids interested in programming, in development, in that kind of stuff. And that would be one. The other, of course, is games. This particular game, you get two remotes, 2 drones, and it's augmented reality. One drone chases the other drone around, and you can shoot missiles at them and machine guns and try and make the other one land. So augmented reality games. You also have farmers. So Nationwide Agribusiness said that, hey, we're insuring farmers' drones now. If they cause some damage, we'll insure that. So typically, what I've read is that they're using it to survey land, but other people have said, well, why not like dust crops, things like that. It can be done with these drones. Movies, so the James Bond movie, the particular scene where they're in Istanbul on the motorcycle chase scene, there were drones used in certain clips of that to record, and that, I believe, was the Phantom drone, a drone similar to that with the high definition camera. Other movies, Oblivion, Man of Steel, Star Trek Into the Darkness, and Iron Man 3 all use drones in the filming of their movies at one point or another. But what about Joe Filmmaker? Well, this drone comes with an application, AR Free Flight Director Mode. And you can actually download that application and use that if you want to do some kind of filming as well. Additionally, the photography, on the remote that I showed you, there's a little camera icon. You can just, while you're flying your drone, you can snap a picture anytime you want. So aerial shots of your home could be taken, things like that. And the higher definition cameras obviously will have a better quality picture. How about search and rescue? So I'm just going to read this one verbatim. Swarm is a search with aerial RC remote, RC multi-rotor. is a worldwide volunteer search and rescue network of over 550 search and rescue drone pilots dedicated searching for missing persons. So this is something that's happening now, search and rescue on a volunteer basis with drones. This is probably the most common one with Amazon and their 30-minute delivery. So a drone operator, Raphael Perker, was fined $10,000 for doing a video for the University of Virginia. In March, that was overturned. So before it was like not for commercial use. Now it seems like commercial use is okay. It's really, I'm not sure what's going on there, because just last week, May 8th, an unmanned drone, this was a glider, but the ones that are like mini jets, it almost collided with an express jet. It was 2,300 feet. This was in Florida, recently on the news, almost collided. So with incidents like that, I mean, where is it going to go? Will Amazon have their drones next year? We'll see what happens, but that's definitely a use. And then one more that I'd like to bring up, and I believe this will be mentioned later as well, is the Bebop drone. This was yesterday. I just saw this article yesterday. This is from the company Parrot. You can actually use this drone with the Oculus Rift. And so the specs on this little guy, 14 megapixel camera, 180 degrees for viewing, full HD. You can also use it with that Sky controller, which is what that individual has in the picture. And you can get a range of over 2 kilometers, they claim, controlling your drone. But with the battery life of 12 minutes, I don't think you'll be getting that far. It also has 8 gigs internal storage. So kind of cool. And that was just yesterday. So then resources. Whoever wins the drone this evening, I recommend the first one, AR.Drone tutorials. They're just videos on how to use your drone. Of course, if you want to come up afterwards, I'll teach you how to use it as well. For those who want to hack their drone, there's autonomous control with Quadcopter. That's the most common one I've found. And they have very good tutorials on how to get started there. Do it yourself, that's just a link to the RC test bench. And then Hack5 is an internet television show, and they just started a series on drones, and they get very detailed on all of the parts, all of the details about drones, and how to make your own. So that's really, really good information there. So this is my contact information. If anything I mentioned in this presentation this evening wasn't clear, please let me know, and I'll be happy I can clear it up. My presentation is on GitHub, so all the resources that I've used are cited. It's all on GitHub. And any feedback, feel free to send. So thank you, everybody, for coming out and listening this evening. And now I'll just open up for Q&A, whatever question, answer you guys had. Yes?
Does the Wi-Fi operate in ad hoc? Or do you have to go to a hub?
No, you're connecting directly to the drone. The drone is like a wireless access point, essentially.
Okay.
Yes, sir?
Is the drone like 3 or 4 channel operation? And if so, how do you control it on the keyboard where you would be sending 2 signals at the same time?
It's directly through the 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. It adjusts the channel automatically. So in that case, I just send it one command at a time, and it's being sent through UDP, so the packets go one after the other, and when it gets it, it does it. Yes?
Does Node actually run on the copter itself, or just?
Node's on the computer, yep, on the PC, and then you connect to it.
So it comes with a custom Linux firmware that accepts certain commands?
No, the version of Linux that's on there will accept your standard Linux commands out of the box. You don't have to do any kind of hacking to the firmware. Although I do know people they do have custom firmwares that you can install on these.
So all the control code's happening on the CPU, the Linux?
Yeah.
ARM?
Yep.
Can you go back one side?
Sure. No.
How much can it lift?
That I haven't tried with this one, but the Dji Phantom drone, I believe, can lift like a couple pounds, 2-3 pounds. I haven't tried to lift anything yet, so. Yes, sir?
What's the difference between regular RC and?
Well, this is using different frequency. This is something new, is that it's using 2.4 gigahertz spectrum for controlling these things, that's new. But overall, I mean, you're controlling something remotely, so This is, in a sense, remote control. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Are you limited to 720p, or can you lower the resolution? Or?
That I haven't tried, but yeah, the max is going to be 720p. On the remote, the phone or the tablet, you have a lower quality image, but when you record, it's recording at 720p.
On the USB? Or
the USB or to the device itself. Yeah, and it's actually better to record to the USB so it's not sending that data over your connection while you're controlling it. So having a USB is very helpful for that.
Is the OS on that open source so you can update it from Parrot or?
The firmware is upgradable from Parrot, yeah. So the remote that you get through the phone or the tablet has an option there to upgrade the firmware. When I first got it, it had the option to upgrade the firmware, but they haven't released any firmware since. So people do have their own custom ones that they put on. Yep, sir.
does Parrot make any upgradable parts that are interchangeable with this model?
That I'm not certain of, but I do know that they have the next version of this particular drone. I think they call it the Elite drone. It has a 1080p camera, things like that. I guess the most upgradable part would be the battery. Like they sell a high density battery for longer flight time, but that's all I've seen so far. So you had one?
Yeah. There's a TED Talk I'm sure a lot of folks around here have seen on AR drones, and just wondering if the Parrot, or whatever, I think that's Parrot,
Yep.
has the ability to recover based on any damage to like one of the turrets or anything like that, an algorithm that would pick up that that's happening and then recover based on.
So I do know it has stability built into the software. I'm not sure on the details. Specifically for quadcopters, usually if one rotor's going, it's going to crash. You have more compensation if you have something like a hexacopter where one will go out, then the others can take over. But when you have just only 4 rotors, typically if one goes, it's gonna crash. But I believe there's compensation built into the software, but probably not to that degree where a motor goes out and the other 3 are going to take over. Yes?
Is the elevation on the camera adjustable, or is it fixed?
You have to move the drone in this case. So the Phantom quadcopter has a movable camera. This one is the stability is all based on the drone itself and the wind. Yes?
So how many commands exactly does the drone, like right now, how many can it take for like program it, you know what I'm saying?
So there are libraries out there where people have missions. So there's like a library for doing missions, and you can send it on a mission. In terms of commands at a time, I'm not really sure, but the mission is the closest thing I could come up with, and I'm not sure what the longest mission has been. I tried to get it to go in a square. You'd think that was a pretty short mission, and that's what wound up in the wall. So, so that depends, I guess. Yes, sir.
So it has to stay on the same Wi-Fi signal that you're on whatever you're making command from? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it actually could be, you can actually connect it to a wireless access point, right? And then you can issue commands from your PC from there.
I was thinking about limitation of how far you could take the drone out. And
right.
if you were going to do a mission like that, how far you could take it.
I believe once the mission's in, it's just going to go. So in terms of, you wouldn't be able to cancel the mission, but I believe it would just go. I have not tested that, so I'm not sure about that exactly. But in terms of regular range, from you in the remote, it's 400 feet. So.
Can you just give it GPS coordinates and have it run? Granted, it's still in the same close space, not like go to.
Right. So there are, I believe, libraries out there that might do that. I have not personally seen those, but I'm going to say possibly. It's not out of the, I don't think it's unexpected. At this point, you can capture the GPS location while you're flying. with Node, you can actually output the GPS coordinates as you're flying. So I imagine you could give it GPS coordinates. I haven't seen that, or I haven't been able to do that myself. But the possibilities are endless, right?
What is it that the GPS module gives you then?
So the add-on GPS flight recorder, you can then run your flight through like Google Maps, and you can track it and see it. You see its flight path, its exact flight path, or Google Earth, sorry. So if there are any other questions that you guys wanted to ask, you can catch me afterwards. But other than that, that's all for me, and thank you everybody for coming out this evening and listening to the talk.